Hello everyone. In the geography optional previous year question paper discussion, today we are going to discuss the question number 1 from the compulsory part. What is geostrophic wind? Explain the relationship between barometric slope and air circulation. Here I do explain you the answer simply. First of all, we have to write what is geostrophic wind. We know that the wind blows from high pressure to low pressure. For example, if it is the isobar of 1000 millibar and if it is the isobar of 995 millibar, then this is high pressure and it is relatively low pressure. So the wind should move in this direction from high pressure to low pressure. But due to the frictional force and the Coriolis force, the wind velocity and the direction will be changed because the Coriolis force will act on the wind and it will pull the wind in this direction and the pressure gradient force will pull the wind in this direction. So by balancing these two forces, the wind actually will blow in this direction. So this is the direction of the wind and the frictional force will act on the direction opposite to it. So this is frictional force. So the wind direction and velocity is determined by these three forces: pressure gradient force, Coriolis force, and frictional force. But when the altitude increases in the upper altitude, that is above 3 or 4 kilometers, the frictional forces become absent and the pressure gradient force also is reduced. So the Coriolis force will act here. So, but in the surface, the pressure gradient force will be like this, the high pressure to low pressure. But as the altitude increases, due to the exceeding Coriolis force, the wind will blow in this direction. So this is almost parallel to the isobars. So when the wind blows parallel to the isobar, due to the exceeding Coriolis force than the pressure gradient force, this wind pattern is called as geostrophic wind. Thus, we should explain here simply. The best example for the geostrophic wind pattern is jet stream. We know jet stream blows in the high altitude in the upper troposphere from west to east, not from south to north or from north to south. So in the surface, the pressure gradient force will be in these directions. The isobar will be here. The jet stream actually blows from west to east like this. So that is from west to east. So this is the best example for the geostrophic wind. And then explain the relationship between barometric slope and the air circulation. Simply through other diagram, we can explain this. For example, this is the surface and equatorial low pressure region and subtropics high pressure region and subpolar low pressure region and polar high pressure region. Similarly, in the other hemisphere also, 30-degree high pressure, 60-degree low pressure, and 90-degree high pressure. So from the high pressure to low pressure, the wind blows like this. And in the surface, it is called as trade wind. After the collision of these two winds, the air mass rises here and it expands in the upper altitude. And if it has moisture content, it gives rainfall over this region. And it expands and the density increases and it sinks down again. And the circulation is formed over this region. After hitting the surface, the wind diverges in the two directions like this. One is towards equator, trade wind, and another is towards subpolar as westerly. So the westerly wind moves in this direction. From the polar region, high pressure, the wind moves towards the subpolar region, and this westerly and the easterly wind meets here in the 60 degrees. And after collision of these air masses, it rises and it expands in the upper altitude and it forms a circulation again here. And another circulation is formed over this region. So here it collides, the air mass collides and expands and it sinks down and the circulation, the cell is formed. And these cells are actually called as Hadley cell in the tropics and feral cell in the temperate region, and polar cell in the polar region. So this is the air circulation occurs due to the pressure gradient. That is called as barometric slope. The equatorial low pressure, subtropical high pressure, subpolar low pressure, and polar high pressure. So thus we can answer to this question simply to get high score. This is just 10 marks. So through these two diagrams, the geostrophic wind and the air circulation diagram, we can answer to this question very simply and we can score well in geography optional. Thank you all.